Itvedant. Now we are going to understand the next important concept, which is a continuation of the concept which we have discussed last, that is your IOC, that is your dependency injection. So when we are creating an object and placing it inside your container, it is known as your bean. Now, if I want to use that bean, for using that bean, we have to implement the concept of your dependency injection, wherein the object will be injected within your project. You are not creating the object. Object is automatically created. What we are doing is, from the container, we are picking up the object. My SpringBoot will pick up the object and will inject it within the project wherever you want to use it. So dependency injection is again a design principle that promotes loose coupling between the software components, wherein wherever the object is required, it will come as an individual object. DI allows you to easily swap out the dependencies, making it easier to test and maintain your project. So you can actually swap the dependency object. Let's say currently you're working on one object. Let's say in future you want to work on another object. DI allows you to do that swapping also. So what exactly is DI? Let's explore it into it. So how dependency injection works in your Spring? So first comes the role of your IOC container. So your IOC container will manage the creation and the injection of your dependency. So whatever objects are created using your IOC is maintained within your container, and from that container only we are going to inject the object. In dependency injection, the container injects the dependencies wherever the object is required. Basically, dependencies means wherever the object is required, I will inject that object if it is available within your container into the beans at the runtime, decoupling them. So this is basically you just saying I need this object and add it here. What is the need of dependency injection? So first let's understand the dependency. One object of mine depends on other objects also. Like I said, your laptop will depend upon the object of an hard disk class. Your laptop will depend upon the object of your processor class. So all these objects need to be injected when we are going to create the actual object of your laptop. So at the runtime, whichever hard disk is available, whichever processor object is available, I want to inject it. I just want to inject it. That is the basic idea here. So when one class requires an object of class 2, so class 1 requires an object of class 2, to the function or call a method, class 1 is dependent on class 2. Like I said, the laptop class is dependent on your processor class and your hard disk class. So whenever I'm going to create an object of laptop class, these two objects will be needed. So while dependencies might seem manageable in the simple scenarios, like I'm creating a very simple project, these are manageable just using the new keyword. But as and when the complexity of my project increase, in every file there will be a new keyword. The manageability of this type of a code becomes a little bit difficult in the overall enterprise applications. That they may cause significant issue in your complex system, potentially leading to your system failures also. To avoid these issues, dependencies should be minimized. So first of all, before you have any concern, you should try to minimize the dependencies as much as possible. But say, let's say, I cannot remove dependency completely. So there comes a picture, your IOC container. So Spring's IOC addresses this by using the dependency injection, which reduces the dependencies between the classes, making the code more modular, easy to test and reusable. So because of my dependency injection, I don't have to manually create the object. I just need to inject the object which is already present within my container. So sometimes even the dependency is reduced because class processor can have two subclasses, Intel processor or your AMD processor. And at the runtime, whatever class object is present within my container, that will be given to me. So I am not completely dependent on a type of a processor, because in my class laptop I have just used a reference of a processor. So whichever type of the processor is available will be injected. So it's not completely dependent on one particular type of the processor. What is IOC and what is the relationship between both of them? So IOC, as we have seen, is a principle which is inverted. That means where the control is inverted. So instead of programmer managing the flow, an external entity like your framework, as your Spring Boot framework, will take over. So in Spring, your IOC container controls your object creation and the life cycle of that object, and the object within the container is known as bean. Whereas DI is a technique that implements IOC by injecting the dependency. So whatever objects are present within the container, we are going to inject them. Instead of letting them create their own, DI is a technique that implements IOC by shifting the responsibility of controlling by creating and providing the dependency from the object itself to an external entity. So IOC creates the object, whereas DI says give me that object which you have created, because I don't want to create an object. I need the object but I don't want to create it. So that is the basic concept and the relationship between your IOC. So both are needed. Both are needed. One will create the object and place it, and another one is going to ask the container to provide the object when there is a need. So just the different types of injections that we are going to see here. So injection can be implemented at your constructor level, at your setter method level, at your field level also. So when you will say constructor level, so as you can see the constructor definition here. So I need in my class, I need an object of a class called as my dependency. So what we can do is we can define the constructor of my class. In that I can define the parameter, my dependency parameter, in this form. And we can say this dot my dependency is equal to dependency. Now when my class object will have the reference of my dependency, when the object of my class will be created, automatically your constructor will try to search for the object of my dependency in the container and automatically inject it. So here you don't have to create any new keyword object. Automatically object will be injected and the dependency will be set. Same thing that you have done in the constructor will happen on your setter also. So we have a setter method wherein instead of constructor we are creating a dedicated method to set the parameter, to set the object for the dependency. So here I have created a reference of my dependency. That means my class needs an object of my dependency for it to work ahead. Here we are creating a method called as set my dependency and passing the parameter of my dependency. Again, just initializing the value, but when this method will get called and this method will be implemented, automatically my Spring Boot will go into my container, will get the object of this class called as my dependency and just bind it here. Just bind it here and start using it. The last way of injection is using your field injection, which is implemented using an annotation called as auto-wired annotation. Auto-wired annotation, as soon as my Spring Boot will see it, it knows that this field which is coming up next, the object has to be auto-wired from the container. So here, my dependency reference is going to refer to an object which is already created within the container, and I just need to give the reference of that particular object to this variable. So these are the three ways using which you can inject your objects, or we can say beans, within your application. Now we will be seeing a small project also here to understand this overall concept of your IOC and dependency injection. So just to give you an overview of what all the classes and interfaces which we have created in this project. So the first class and the interface that we have created here is a content interface, in which we have listed out the methods that needs to be utilized by every content class. So first we have created just one content class here, that is simple content class, in which we are trying to set up a very simple text-based content. So we have a getter and setter methods also utilized, which are coming from the interface. Next, we have a context collection. Context collection class is the interface which is showing us all the methods that are needed to render my list. It's going to have an array list, and we have the methods already listed out, which will help us to render, like add something into my collection, view the elements of my collection. So for that, we have this to provide the implementation of these methods which are declared in this interface. We have created this class called as context list. So context list way, we are going to provide the implementation of how the content will be added within my list, how the content will be read from my list. So that is giving an overview. Then we have also created another interface called as user profile, because it's a content. So obviously content will be created by some user. So what is the details about that user that we are maintaining here? So we have created an interface, some getter setter methods we have defined within the interface that needs to be utilized. In the class basic user, I have the basic information about the user, but also the information about the content that the user has created. Now, when I want to define this content, I am not going to create a new object of this content. The object of my content is already created when we are going to create this interface or the object of the simple context. So, simple context class ko we are going to annotate it with the help of your annotation @ component. Automatically, the object will be created and will be placed inside the container. What you want to do here is, when we are seeing this, that is inject the content into the basic user, we are just going to make use of your DI and get it injected in my user. So this we will implement practically and see how it is done. So this is basically what we have seen in this session is what exactly is the concept of your DI, that is implementing your overall process of inversion of control. So inversion of control creates object, but whenever you want to use it, that is getting implemented with your DI concept here. I hope this session was useful to you. Thank you. Hello everyone. Now we are going to explore that what exactly is the concept of dependency injection and what are the different ways using which we can implement the dependency injection. So in the presentation we discussed about the three ways to do the dependency injection, that is by using your constructor, using your setter methods and using the field. So let's explore one by one how exactly it will be implemented here. So to implement the concept of IOC and dependency injection, we have taken here few basic classes like the content class that we have, content interface that we have seen in the previous example. Now in the content interface, we are declaring the methods like setMessage and getMessage methods. So whichever class will implement this interface needs to override them. So for the class, we have created the simple content class. In the simple content class, first of all, we have declared this class with the annotation as @component, meaning the object of this class has to be created and placed inside the container. But remember one thing, only one object. It's working by default in the singleton scope. We are calling the constructor method here using the super keyword. Then we are setting up the values. Your setMessage method will set the value for the set message parameter here for the object, and getMessage method will return me the value. Similarly, we have created here one user profile interface also. So in the user profile interfaces, we have created the methods like set user, wherein we will set the username of the user here. Then we have said get user, I want to get the user. The user will create the content. So here for the user created content, we have created one method called as get content, which gives me an object of type content. So it can be an object of your simple content also under the rule of your polymorphism. Here we have set content wherein we can set the entire content object. This interface is getting implemented by your basic user class. The basic user class also we have annotated it using @componentation. Now in this class we are auto wiring the content object. So we have annotated the simple content class with the annotation @component. Because of that, the object of that class will be automatically placed inside the container. So that object which is placed inside the container, I want to consume. I want to get that object in my user class. So let's see the basic user class now. In the basic user class, we can see it is also annotated using the @componentation. That means the object of even this class will be automatically created and placed inside the container. Now in this class, we are using another class object, that is your content list. So let us explore first of all what exactly is your content list. So here we can see that there is an interface that we have created called as content collection. So content collection may we have declared the methods like get all contents, get content which give me the single content. So this will give me all the contents, this will give me the individual content. Set the content, the individual content that you will be creating will be getting set here, and this will return you the size, like how many contents are created will be returned here. In my content list class, we are implementing this content collection. We have created an array list in which all the contents object that we will be creating, we will be placing it here. In my constructor, I am creating a new array list object. In the method called as get all the content, it is giving me an array list, giving me this entire content list. When I say get content may we are asking the user to provide us with the ID of the content. That ID is nothing but the index number. So based on that index number, we can get a particular content from my list. Then we can say set the content. So set content means we want to add a new content into my list. So that we are doing it with the help of your add method. So whatever the content the user wants to add can be added using the get content method. And lastly, we are using the size here. Size may what we are doing is we are just finding out what is the content list size. Now let's go back to your basic user class. So as I've already discussed, basic user class may here we are injecting. If you see, we are injecting the object of the content only. So the first way of injection here which has been indicated, this is what we say is your field based injection. In the field-based injection, what we do is we just give the reference. Now, this reference could have been of the simple content or of the content. So, here we are saying content. So, what it will do is it will search in my container, is there any object created of content or the subclass of the content. So it will find the object of the simple content created. It will actually make that object injected here inside my class. This is basically your dependency injection. So the object which is present within your container will be injected within this particular class. So this is my field-based injection. Now if I want to implement not the field-based injection, but I want to do it in the constructor, the injection has to be implemented in the constructor. So what will happen in the constructor based injection? In the constructor based injection, this class's constructor I have declared. So I have declared here, so field I will create it. Now as soon as it will find that there is a parameter of the type content, by default what will happen, this constructor will give me an error when I try to create an object of this basic user. But now when the object of the basic user will get created automatically, it will also see that the basic user constructor is asking for an object of type content. So it will automatically go into my container, find if there is any object of type content and will auto wire it here. So this is again another way of implementing a dependency injection, wherein when you are creating the object of a class which is dependent on the object of another class, so that constructor will automatically inject the object of the dependent class. Another way of doing the dependency injection is with the help of my setter methods. So we have overridden here. The set content method which is coming from my user class. So set content method, as every user can create the content. Again, we want the content to be set here. So my user class is dependent, is just want one of the object of the class content. So we can inject it on the field base. At the field declaration itself, we can inject it. In the constructor, we can inject it, or what we can do is we can create a setter method for this particular class, and using that setter method also the value or the object of that class can be injected. So here we are creating the method called as set content, taking the parameter of type content here. Now when this method will be executed, it is not going to ask you to provide the object. It will automatically go inside your container and check if the object exists or not. If the object exists, because of your auto wired annotation, that object will be automatically injected in your class. Let's explore what is happening in your main method now. So in my main method, as we have done in the last example also, we have created the scanner class object. First for the dependency injection, because here also we need to inject a bean called as basic user. So basic user class is containing all the methods like get the user, get the content, all these methods are available within it. So using the basic user class we can do it. So first we are setting the context as to which package you need to search for my class. Once the context is being set, using the getBean method we are injecting. So there are two ways actually to perform the injection, as you can see. There is an annotation way also using your auto-wire annotation, and there is another way using this getBean method to inject the class object into your program. Here first we are asking the user to enter his name. User will enter his name. Then we have created here the entire menu driven application. So in the menu driven application, after the user enters the name, while true means I am creating an infinite loop here. In the infinite loop, first we are also injecting the object of your content list. Using the object of your content list, we will be adding all the content that the user will be creating in my list also. So we will be setting the value of my content object also, plus we'll keep on simultaneously add it in the list also. So here the menu is, can you make a new post? Second option says show me all the posts, and third option say exit. It will ask me for the input, whether you are entering the number 1, 2 or 3. If the user has entered the number as 1 may, we are loading the object of type simple content. Only one singleton object of that simple content will be loaded. We are asking the user to enter a post. User will enter the message that is to be indicated in the post. That message will be set for my content object, plus this content will be added into your collection, that is in your array list. If the user selects the second option, whatever contents that you have added here, will be now available in your content collection. So here on your content collection, we are using a for loop to traverse through my content collection and get two values, the username value and my content value. Last is we are just exiting out of the loop. If you enter any other value other than 1, 2 and 3, it's going to go to the default option. So this is a program which will try and execute it here. So let's see whether it's giving us the desired output or not. Let's enter our name and see. Let's create a new post here. So we'll create a new post. So we'll say welcome. Again, we'll create a new post. Here I would say this is my done post. Now let's see both the post. So you can see in both the posts, the name, the message has been set as done. The reason for this is my singleton object. Only one object of your simple content class has got created in my container. What we needed here was different content objects to be created for every message. So that we can get it done with the help of your prototype scope that we'll see in the next example. I hope this example was being useful to you. Thank you everyone.
To know more about Itvedant, visit our website